For what purpose does the gentlewoman from Georgia seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to inform the Democrats that the radical path you are taking is going to cause you to lose in the next elections. Passing a bill of $1.9 trillion.
From Georgia,
Mr. Speaker, I ask to address for 1 minute.
Without objection, the gentlewoman from Georgia is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to inform Democrats the radical path you're taking will cause you to lose in 2022. The American people are shocked at what you're doing and running through this House of Representatives. Passing a bill of $1.9 trillion that spends less than 9% on COVID relief is shameful. Passing the Unequality Act, which destroys women's rights, religious freedoms, puts men in our little girls' bathrooms, locker rooms, and sports teams is unforgivable. Trying to pass what I call the Democrats' hate police bill, H.R. 1280, that puts police on Biden's hit list and allows police to be targets, also gets rid of qualified immunity, opening them up to be sued every time a criminal is offended and has their feelings hurt because they got arrested, is reckless and dangerous for our police. And because of H.R. 1, which is a federalization of our elections, I also today, Mr. Speaker, make a motion to adjourn so Democrats can think a little bit harder.
Members are reminded to make their remarks to the chair.
Mr. Speaker, I make a motion to adjourn.
The question is on the motion to adjourn. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. The noes have it.
Speaker, ask for a roll call vote.
Pursuant to Section 3S of House Resolution 8, the yeas and nays are ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device.
Purpose does the gentlewoman from Georgia seek recognition?
Madam Speaker, I ask unanimous consent to address the House for 1 minute and advise and extend my remarks.
Without objection, the gentlewoman is recognized for 1 minute.
I've introduced articles of impeachment on President Joe Biden. The reason why I've done so is for his disgraceful actions having to do with Afghanistan, abandoning Americans, arming and terrorist nation, the Taliban, which is treason, giving aid and comfort to our enemies. But I've also introduced articles of impeachment for the national security crisis created at our southern border, which today is actually being invaded. But heading into this week, perhaps the most evil and disgusting thing that is going to happen in this 117th Congress is the bill that's going to be introduced that makes it a federal law to allow abortion up until the day of birth. This wall says, "In God we trust." And if that is the case, then this Congress will reject this evil bill and protect the innocent unborn. If this nation becomes a nation where we have such a federal law that can kill a baby up until the day of birth, then God will no longer provide protection in His grace over America. Thank you. I yield the remainder of my time. Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent to address the House for up to 5 minutes and advise and extend my remarks.
Without objection, the gentlewoman's recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I rise in opposition to the commission to study the events of January 6th, as well as spending $2 billion in security supplemental. The question that comes to mind is this: what about all the riots that happened during the summer of 2020 after the death of George Floyd? What about all the damage caused to federal buildings, churches, people's businesses, and innocent people that were killed, like David Dorn. This past summer, Minneapolis city officials estimate 700 buildings were damaged, burned, or destroyed, including 360 local businesses. Riots caused an estimated $55 million in damages in Minneapolis alone. BLM and Antifa established an autonomous zone in Seattle and attempted to burn government buildings in Portland. Is that not an insurrection? On one Friday night alone in New York City, BLM protesters caused over $100,000 in damages and 150 people were arrested. Just one Monday night in Philadelphia resulted in a crowd of 1,000 people looting stores, setting fires in the middle of the street, and 30 police officers injured. Protests in Kansas City resulted in $2.1 million in damages, mostly over the course of one weekend. Several officers were injured as well. Protests in Wichita, Kansas cost the police department about $1.5 million in overtime. Protests in Salt Lake City cost at least $100,000 in damages. Protests in Denver cost the city at least $5.5 million in damages and overtime. BLM protests in Nashville set a federal courthouse on fire. The destruction is estimated to have cost $1.2 million in damages. Again, is that an insurrection? Protesters in Portland destroyed barriers and attempted to burn down government buildings, resulting in $2.3 million in damages, including $1.6 million in damages to the courthouse downtown. In St. Louis, following the night of violence, buildings were looted, vandalized, and burned. Protesters in Louisville set the courthouse on fire and shot 2 cops, resulting in a state of emergency ordered being declared. Protesters in Kenosha, Wisconsin, injured. Police officers set off fireworks near the building and courthouse and set at least 2 city trucks on fire. In Guilford County, North Carolina, a courthouse was broken into, set on fire, resulting in roughly $200,000 in damages. Protests in Oakland, California, resulted in a courthouse being set on fire and vandalized. The LAPD was defunded by $150 million, and some smaller crime units were eliminated entirely. Studies show 570 protests in 220 U.S. locations turned violent over the summer. Are those not insurrections? The $1+ billion in riot damage is estimated to be the most expensive in insurance history. It resulted in up to $2 billion of damages in 20 cities across the U.S., mostly concentrated in LA, Detroit, Miami, D.C., and New York. Indeed, we should have a commission to study the violent BLM and Antifa mobs that have plagued American cities this past summer, and that's for the American people who, by the way, pay the taxes that fund everything we do here. Also, we should have a security supplemental to fund all the police departments that have been defunded due to the pressure from radical, violent, and socialist groups. We should back the blue because they certainly back us. Also, while it's catch and release for domestic terrorists, Antifa, BLM, the people who breached the Capitol on January 6th are being abused, some even being held for 23 hours a day in solitary confinement. So, Mr. Speaker, my questions are this. Who placed the pipe bombs at the RNC and the DNC, which is an attack on both Republicans and Democrats? Why was President Trump's request on January 5th for 10,000 National Guard denied? And who denied it? And what chain of command did they follow? Also, who killed Ashley Babbitt? And why is that not being revealed? Does her family not deserve justice? And lastly, when will the witch hunt of Donald J. Trump come to an end and all of those who support him? I rest my time.
Gentlewoman yields back. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Tennessee, Mr. Burchett, for 5 minutes.
I'm also happy to tell you that yesterday on the House floor, I happened to finally bump into AOC, and I challenged her to a debate about the Green New Deal. You see, I'm a small business owner that has created jobs. I've signed the back of many paychecks. I've also built the economy. As a job creator, a business owner, we actually build the economy. Let me tell you what AOC has never done. She's never created one job. She has not built the economy. She's only in the business of trying to tear it down. And that's exactly what I told her when I spoke with her yesterday on the House floor. We're going to debate. I told her, she asked me if I had read her 14-page Green New Deal. I said, I've read some of it. And she said, well, when you read all of it, then you can challenge me to a debate. Well, the good news is I've read all 14 little pages, and I'm very ready to debate her on the House floor. So this is what we're going to be doing. The date hasn't been set, but when it is set, I will let you know. And she better show up. If she chickens out, then she shows exactly who she really is, a scared little girl that is pretty stupid and doesn't know anything about the economy or economics. And she boasts that she does because she has a degree in economics, but she doesn't have enough common sense to actually be able to produce anything in the real world. She just has a government job. So I just wanted to fill you guys in on what's going on. Here's the plan going forward. It's going to be America First policies, and this is what I'm going to be fighting for every single day, and that's for you, and that's for me, and that's for the future of our children and our grandchildren and beyond that. America First policies is the only way to save this country, and I am so thankful that we had President Trump for 4 years to show us exactly what that looks like. Now it's our turn to pick up that mantle and run with it and make sure that America First policies are the future and the way for this country. Thank you guys for your support, and I look forward to talking to you again. Hey, one more thing. Share this video and tell your friends. Okay, have a great day. Bye-bye.